Okay, hold on. Ta-da.
70 to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. The prevalence amongst Asian Americans is 95 to 98%. Amongst Native Americans to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. I think 74 to 78% Asian Americans.
You have Mr. Paul.
Yeah, hold on.
It is 53 to 58%. Whereas amongst Caucasian Americans, it's only around
You have another YouTube
5%.
playing at the same time. You have
And
Mr. Paul.
Yeah, hold on.
It tested fine, but here we are. I think I heard a echo also.
Yeah, let me let me see where. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
70 to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. The prevalence amongst Asian Americans is 95 to 98%. Amongst Native Americans to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. I think 74 to 78% Asian Americans, and amongst Hispanic Americans.
Hey Ty, it's Craig. We're still hearing two different YouTube.
Yeah, it doesn't like it when I go up on YouTube. Hold on a second. Let me stop the YouTube.
Hey Ty, it's Craig. We're still hearing two different YouTube.
Yeah, it doesn't like it when I go up on YouTube. Hold on a second. Let me stop the YouTube.
Hey Ty, it's Craig. We're still hearing
What?
No, the whole system was repeating itself between you and Craig. The whole system
Right.
repeating itself. It tested fine when you guys weren't on here,
I know.
but now it's showing off again. Maybe it doesn't like the amount. I don't know.
We tested it out.
Yes.
All right, let's see if this works.
70 to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. The prevalence amongst Asian Americans is 95 to 98%. Amongst Native Americans, it's around 70, I think 74 to 78%. And amongst Hispanic Americans, it is.
That was good.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, we're doing fine. I just want to make sure we're recording it.
Okay. It's recording.
It's on recording?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
"70 to 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. The prevalence amongst Asian Americans is 95 to 98%. Amongst Native Americans, it's around 70, I think 74 to 78%. And amongst Hispanic Americans, it is 53 to 58%. Whereas amongst Caucasian Americans, it's only around 33 to 35%. And that is because the use of dairy foods have been traditionally much more common in people of European ancestry. And so, again, dairy foods have not been a traditional part of the cultures and cuisines of people of color. And therefore, the recommendations in the dietary guidelines for people to include these foods in their diets can't be justified. And so what is the reason that these foods are recommended? It's marketing, plain and simple. After I finished residency, I was working, doing urgent care part-time for Kaiser, but also working in free clinic in Alexandria. And I was having African-American patients coming in telling me, "Doc, my irritable bowel is acting up," or "I've got a spastic colon." And I talked to them about their symptoms, and it was fairly clear to me that probably what was going on with them wasn't that they actually had spastic colon or irritable bowels, it was that they were continuing to include dairy foods in their diet. So I'd have them go home, do 2 weeks, no dairy, come back and see me, and 8 to 9 out of 10 times, the problems had cleared up. And so I'd tell them, "No, you are lactose intolerant," which is the case with most African Americans, so you need to avoid dairy. Well, the clincher came when this one older black woman came back, and I said to her, she said, "The problem had cleared up." And I said, "Well, you're lactose intolerant." She looked at me and said, "I know that." And I said, "Then why are you continuing to eat these dairy foods?" She said, "Because the government says I have to." And that just blew me away. She said, "The dietary guidelines say I have to eat X number of servings of dairy every day, to get my calcium." And that pissed me off. And that's when I went to PCRM and I talked to Dr. Barnard and I said, "Look, we got to do something about this, because African American people are eating foods that are going to make them sick because they think they have to do it." And out of that came our 2-part paper called Racial Bias in the U.S. Dietary Guidelines. Part 1 of the paper dealt with the issue of lactose intolerance in communities of color. And then part 2 dealt with the larger issue of the fact that an animal food centered diet is going to create disproportionate levels of disease in communities of color because of the presence of what are called thrifty genes. So when you look at the traditional diets of communities of colors, so Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, West Africans, these are diets that traditionally are built around whole plant foods, contain no dairy, are low in fat, and have limited amounts of animal foods. And when people stick to these kinds of diets, they have very low rates of chronic disease. But when they start to adapt a Western style, high fat, high animal food centered diet, particularly when they start to consume a lot of meat and dairy foods, their rates of chronic disease not only skyrocket, but they typically begin to exceed those in the general population. And so by encouraging people to consume a Western style diet, the government knows that they are going to ultimately promote excess rates of disease in communities of color. And to do this deliberately is a form of institutional racism. But it's particularly egregious in communities of color because with respect to the issue of dairy foods, what is the primary reason the government encourages people to consume dairy foods? What? Calcium, right? And what is the primary reason for consuming calcium? Come on, you guys know. Bones. Well, first of all, there is no commercial you will ever see on TV that will tell you that eating dairy foods will give you strong bones, because there is no study that has ever shown it. There's a commercial that came out a couple years ago. There are some black guys playing basketball, And then there's this idiot that comes out in a milk carton costume. And he starts talking smack with the guys playing basketball. He says, if you want to be good at basketball, you need strong bones. And he says, milk has calcium. And for strong bones, you need calcium. And he leaves you to make the inference that drinking milk with the calcium is going to give you strong bones, but he never says it. He never says it because no study has ever shown it. In fact, every study has shown exactly the opposite, that the more milk you drink, the more likely you are to have osteoporosis. But it actually gets worse than that, because every study has always shown that for some reason, black women are genetically protected against osteoporosis. Black women don't get osteoporosis, period. And so the primary reason for allegedly drinking milk, black women are protected against it anyway. So the government is encouraging African American women to drink milk for no good reason, knowing that it's going to make them sick in the process. That's disgusting. It also knows that women who drink milk are more likely to get ovarian cancer. It knows that when African American men drink milk, they are more likely to get prostate cancer, and they're more likely to die from it. Also knowing that African American men are more likely to have problems with access to health care. And so when they get the prostate cancer, it's going to be AMF yo-yo. Y'all know what that stands for? Adios, I'm going to use a polite term, my friend, you're on your own. So, yeah, it's institutionalized racism. It's a deliberate effort on the part of the government to encourage the consumption of foods that it knows promote disease with no demonstrable benefit. And our government has had a history of taking minority communities, putting them in a position of food insecurity, thereby making them dependent upon the government for food subsidies that it then uses essentially as dumping grounds for agricultural excess, and basically dumps these commodity foods into these communities, and these again are the foods that promote chronic disease. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions?
All right. Okay. Let me turn my video back on. I know I normally have a Q&A, but I should have done this right after this. What do you think of the video? What do you think of what he said? Anybody have any thoughts? Is that some new information for a lot of you? For most people,
It's definitely new information, and I am appalled. I'm just speechless, and I want to know the name of that guy again. What was his name?
His name is Dr. Milton Mills, Mills. And he's right over in DC, so he's in our area. I met him once, and we had good conversation. But he belongs to the organization also called Physicians for Responsible Medicine, and we're going to talk about this. But good. Anybody else have any comments on it as far as V?
Yeah, I don't like the fact that I have over 50-something years to rectify, because I was a milk drinker.
Yeah.
So I am terrible.
And cheese.
Everything associated. All
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what was government cheese?
Oh,
that's
goodness.
what black
All
people
dirt,
had,
yes.
was government cheese.
They always gave you free eggs, free cheese, and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah, and
I
then
have so much in my body to
goodness.
cleanse now.
Well,
it's taking us,
let me make another connection for you. And I don't have a slide on this one, but the government, like I said, the government knows how bad it is, and he touched on it that people when people go into, I mean, they create food deserts, they create these ghettos, and then they want to give them blocks of cheese, knowing that it's going to make them sick and dependent, and
I
then
know.
they so it's a vicious cycle. Let
me
me
and
let me
Myra going crazy because
let me tell
I'm
you.
going crazy because what do we call it?
right.
Government cheese. I mean, we
Cheese.
don't even we call it government,
Well, let me tell you. Let me
which
tell you.
again,
Let me tell you the
oh
story.
my goodness,
Let me to tell you the story. How quick? I mean, real quick. How they got to government cheese. Th- We
because
talked
they
about
knew it would kill us.
wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
The
I'm sorry.
the, the dairy industry, uh, they were overproducing. Cows were making, more milk, and they would end up making more cheese. So the federal government bought tons and tons of cheese, and they subsidize it. There's there are actually mountains in Maryland where they used to house that government cheese. So what they did was that they said they say, okay, we paid for this cheese, so we're gonna give it away to low income people, people on welfare, on SSI, all these different problems. But I got another reasons for what they're doing now. This is coming up on how they plan to get rid of all this cheese. Okay, let me continue on.
Well, so I did have one.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, this is
Craig.
Craig. I did have one. Comment. I'm sorry. I'm driving, so I couldn't see the video. But it's just funny because it takes me back to a commercial that was out there. It was a little stick figures, and it said, I hanker for a hunk of cheese.
Right.
It was a little musical stick figure group, or a guy with a cowboy hat on, and he would just talk about how you had to have a hunk of cheese. You had to have cheese. When you felt low, you felt cheese. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. At the time, you don't think about it. It's like, wait a minute, was this something that was manipulated to get rid of cheese?
Yep.
And this was when I was a child.
It is. I'm going thank you for both all of you for your questions and your concerns. We're going to get to a lot of that. Okay. Examples of dairy and dietary racism. Coffee shops like Starbucks and other large extra non-dairy milk forcing BIPOC, lactose intolerant customers to choose a beverage that will make them sick or pay the toll. So what they're saying is Starbucks saying their creamers in milk, are milk based. They just started to offer non-dairy creamer, and in some places I understand they charge you a little extra for the non-dairy creamer. So that's basically what I just said. They know that this is problem. So white people are something. All right. Another example, the 2020 and 2025 U.S. Dietary Guidelines recommends 3 servings of dairy for all Americans, despite the fact that it can make millions of people sick. Another one. I got quite a few more. This one is going to blow your mind here. The United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee promotes milk, other dairy products to its athletes and the general public. It does this by placing an emphasis on dairy in the Olympic training centers and capitalizing on its athletes' success to market dairy as a necessity for Olympic hopefuls. What are they doing? And especially in track and field or the Summer Olympics, how many black people are there? How many black athletes are there? Maybe it's a different thing when you start doing Winter Olympics because you have less black people in Winter Olympics. But this, what's coming up at the Summer Olympics? Basketball, gymnastics, all these things. All right, I've got another one. Okay, the organization does. Let me finish this one up. The organization, meaning the Olympic Committee, does not explain to its athletes or the public that millions are negatively affected by these dairy products. Don't tell them. Don't open their mouth. All right, here's another one. If you have grandchildren, you have young children, listen to this one. School children who participate in the National School Lunch Program must provide a doctor's note to explain to themselves or keep them from taking a carton of milk in the lunch line. They have actually a law that they're supposed to have milk. This federal law does not take into account the diversity of children within this program, nor the fact that millions are lactose intolerant. Therefore, the law encourages students to consume a product that will make them sick.
Mr. Qualls, excuse me, do you know you still on the
Yeah, yes.
Starbucks?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, long as you know.
Yeah. That's why I was talking. I did Starbucks, I did the athletes, and then now I'm doing children. Okay. Last one. In an attempt to support its claim that milk is well, they say chocolate milk, that it is an optimal post-workout recovery beverage, the dairy industry heavily relies on the self-funded study that had male white participants, and they only used 7 male white participants to say that dairy was okay. The results from these 7 white men are intended to represent the entire American population. I mean, when I start reading this research and this is readily available. So those are 5 examples of how the racism is in the dairy industry. All right, when I found this one, this is I love this one. Dairy industry, United States Department of Agriculture partnered with fast food pizza chains to push 12 million pounds of disease-causing cheese. The dairy industry announced in 2023, just last year, that it is working with the United States Department of Agriculture to push 12 million pounds of disease-causing cheese through partners with fast food chains like Domino's in the United States and another pizza chain abroad. The dairy industry and the United States Department of Agriculture have a long history of working with fast food chains like Domino's to hook Americans on cheese or disease-causing cheese, says Dr. Neal Barnard. Now, if you're not familiar with Dr. Neal Barnard, the young man that I just showed you, the Dr. Milton Mills that made it, Dr. Neal Barnard is the president, CEO of Physicians for Responsible Medicine. He's a medical doctor. But if you go Google him, he's got a lot of YouTube videos. Both of them do. But that's who he is. And he, Dr. Neal Barnard, the author of The Cheese Trap. I'm going to show you a picture of the book, The Cheese Trap. Uh, the trees chap says dairy is disastrous for health, increasing the risk of heart disease, breast cancer, and prostate cancer, among other conditions. The last thing America need is more cheese. The average American eats more than 40 pounds of cheese per year, an increase of more than 5 pounds over the last decade. We are constantly eating more cheese. A dangerous uptake likely caused their partnership with the Dairy Management Incorporation and the United States the United States Department of Agriculture. One of the things that they did, they made a deal with all of the places that make pizza. They said, can you figure out more ways to sell pizza? Now, if you think about it, in the last few years, how many pizza commercials have you seen? Oh, we got double cheese on there. We put more cheese in there. They got other things on the side that have more cheese in it. You look at fast food burger places. Oh, we got double cheeseburgers. So they figuring out a way to get you to eat more cheese. That's your federal government. But at the same time, the USDA is pushing high-fat cheese. It's also warning Americans against it. So they're playing both sides of the fence or the coin. The dietary guidelines for Americans, which are developed by the United States Department of Agriculture, recommend limiting saturated fat, and note that saturated fat is commonly found in higher amounts of full fat dairy products like cheese. Okay. Saturated fat raises your LDL, your bad cholesterol levels, increasing the risk of heart disease. Cheese and other dairy products are also linked to breast cancer and to prostate cancer. How many of you know women that have had breast cancer and have passed away from it or had one or both breasts removed because of that? So, yep. So this is why we got to look at what is the cause of these chronic conditions, all these different cancers. It's what we put in our mouth. All right. Now, pay attention to this video. I mean, not video, but this slide. Dairy crack. Why is cheese so addictive? Now, we just talking about how much fat is in cheese, but cheese also has a lot of sodium in it. So if you're eating a lot of cheese, you may have high blood pressure. You may be on your verge of getting a cancer, but you also may be on your verge of having a heart attack or stroke because that fat is going to clog your arteries. All right. I'm going to read what's in here. To make 1 block of cheese requires 10 gallons of milk. The majority of water and whey protein is removed from the milk during the process. What's left behind is a concentrated block of fat. And casein protein, that's the protein in milk and definitely in cheese. And it's left filled with opioid compounds. First time some of you heard that, but a lot of you have heard me say cheese has opioids in it. Why is this is why most people won't transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Kicking the cheese habit may be much harder compared to a meat habit. And basically what it's saying is it's hard for people to get off of cheese because you're addicted to it because it has opioids in it. And the opioid is called, I'm going to get into a little bit later, it's called casein morphine. Most of you never heard that, don't even know about it. All right, let me elaborate on this a little bit more. When someone says, I can never give up cheese, explain the science behind it. It is actually a chemical addition opioid compound we call it dairy crack. Just as cocaine manufacturers have found ways to turn addictive cocaine into extremely addictive one, crack, dairy producers have found their ways of doing the same thing to make you keep coming back. That's why you get addicted to sodas. That's why you get addicted to potato chips, of the salt. That's why you get addicted to all this stuff. And we only think about drug addictions of cocaine, crack, heroin, nicotine. Now, I'm going to veer off a little bit and make this statement. Some people don't know this. In 1985, Philip Morris, this tobacco company, bought General Foods and Kraft Foods. They were the largest companies that made food and processed food. But the bad part of what they did, now the cigarette company, Philip Morris, is based down in Richmond, Virginia. They knew that nicotine was habit forming because if you got a habit, you're a repeat customer, more money. So they market it to everybody, get you hooked on cigarettes. They took the same marketing strategy, the same philosophy, and went and bought food companies and said, okay, we can't put nicotine in the food. They won't allow us to put the cocaine in the food. So what we'll do is we'll put enough salt, sugar, and fat to get you addicted. And this is just one of the ways. So you have become addicted to foods that are detrimental to your health. And where do they sell most of these all those things? In convenience stores. Convenience stores don't have a fresh fruit produce section. They sell a lot of food in wrappers, a lot of snacks. So just think about it. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Okay. Today's cheese industry knows all about cheese craving and is eager to exploit it. It is doing its level best to trigger cheese cravings in vulnerable people. And that's pretty much all of us. Casein, the protein in milk, is an unusual protein. While it does break apart to release individual beads, it also releases longer fragment chains that might be 4, 5, or 7 amino acids beads in length. That is, the casein fragment are called casein morphines. That is casein-derived morphine-like compounds, and they can attach to the same brain receptors that heroin and other narcotics attach to. In other words, dairy protein has opioid molecules built right into them. Opioid in dairy products. What the heck are you doing there? What the heck are they doing there? You might ask. Well, imagine, now this is kind of an explanation of why it's there. Imagine if a calf did not want to nurse from their mother cow, what would happen? Or if a human baby was not interested in nursing. Now this one's going to blow your mind. All of you women, you have a little bit of morphine in your breast milk because the baby, when the baby is drinking milk from your breast, is smiling, is okay, because Mother Nature designed it so that the baby will drink the milk. But it's also a little sweet, so it has a little bit of sugar in it. So it's designed to make the offspring want to nurse, and that's the same principle that they do for a cow. The calf wants that morphine, that casein morphine from their mother. So until they get to a point where they no longer need to nurse. The same with our children. Our children get to a point, 1 or 2 years, to a point where they no longer need to nurse. They have teeth, they can start eating regular food. That's called the weaning process. Okay. Opioid products. I'm sorry. Let me finish reading this. They would not do very well. So along with, let me go back up. Well, imagine if a calf did not want to nurse, or if a human baby was not interested in nursing, they would not do very well. So along with protein, fat, sugar, and that's in your female breast milk, excuse me, they would so along with the protein and a sprinkling of hormones, milk contains opioids that reward the baby calf for nursing. And you drinking it like it's going out of style for years. That's why you love milk. Or you did. Why you love cheese. Or you did. Why you love ice cream. This comes from a... See that? And this information is readily available. I didn't have to do a whole lot of searching. These pictures, this picture I got here, I pulled up right out from the Library of Congress. Okay. This is the book that I was talking about before, The Cheese Trap. How breaking a surprising addiction will help you lose weight, gain energy, and get healthy, by Dr. Neal Barnard. And he is, like I say again, he is the president of Physicians for Responsible Medicine. This down here, that's their logo right here. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So I just wanted you see this, one of the unhealthiest foods in the standard American diet. And nobody tells you that. You go to the doctor, your arteries are clogged up. You've had a heart attack. You're gaining weight because you're eating all this cheese, this fat. And they want to give you another pill.
How profound it is that the acronym for the standard American diet is SAD.
Yes, sad. Exactly. Isn't that funny? All right. Let's talk about milk and mucus. We're going to talk about inflammation also a little later. But now let's talk about milk and mucus. Why dairy is the major cause of phlegm, mucus, and congestion. Now, this one I have firsthand knowledge of. As I said before, I had diabetes. I had hay fever, but my brother also had asthma. And when we were young, he had asthma attack after asthma attack. And I'm pretty sure because when we drank milk, he would have an asthma attack. If I can't relate it now, and every time he had some milk that was happening, but you'll see later on any breathing um, chronic condition like asthma, COPD, bronchitis, you don't want to drink milk, not at all. It develops mucus, and this is a picture, a good picture of that I found again on the Library of Congress website showing mucus in your blood vessels. It seems to be the case that is a lot of confusion about whether milk or other dairy products create mucus in the body. The Dairy Council denies that there is any association between milk and increased mucus production, but personal accounts, which I just gave you, and other scientific studies have proven otherwise. First, I would like to address the fact that nutritional studies funded by food companies like the Dairy Council are almost always biased in their interests. A new study co-authored by Harvard researchers, not Tyrone, and analysts from Center for Science in the Public Interest found just that. They documented widespread bias in nutrition studies funded with industry money in their favor. The study they carried out questioned whether the science behind nutrition recommendations is, in fact, legitimate. Dr. David Ludwig, Director of Clinical Weight Loss Program at Children's Hospital in Boston, analyzed 206 studies published between 1999 and 2003. He decided to focus mainly on milk and other juices and soft drinks, as those beverages are highly profitable for the food industry and heavily advertised to children. Those sippy cups, those sippy drinks. What did they find? When a food company pays for the scientific article, the results are 8 times more likely to favor the company's financial interests than if the study was independently funded. So they do their own studies to tell you, oh, yeah, we did the study, but it was in our favor. But who funded it? Just like I asked dietitians, do they know that the milk industry funds them? Because if you ask most dietitians and most of them are white in hospitals, they say milk is okay. In fact, if you're sick in a hospital, they'll give you a carton of milk on the table for your lunch, for your dinner, for your breakfast. And that's what the dietitian says, or the nutritionist at the hospital. Uh, this is just a funnest. All right, here's one, some information on one of the studies. I found so many of them. I just picked one. The milk protein casein, as we talked about before, breaks down in the stomach to produce a substance called casein morphine, which has opioid effects. This makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, excuse me, as species survive may depend on close maternal bond between infant and mother. Opioid receptors on the mucus gland in the receptor tract may respond to the casein morphine from milk, which which stimulates the production and secretion of mucus from those respiratory glands. These examples is why a subgroup of the population who have increased respiratory tract mucus, asthma, COPD, bronchitis, tract of mucus production, find that many of their symptoms, including asthma, improve if they eliminate dairy from their diet. If I had known that my brother at the time, when he had asthma attack, sometime they had to take him out the house in an ambulance because and they would give him a steroid to open up his lungs. But we didn't know. It was probably because our parents was feeding us milk, and I would have so much mucus from my hay fever. You see, when I looked at this picture here, I said that they must have looked at my insides back during that time, because I know I had so much mucus coming out of my nose, my mouth, it was coming out of my eye, everywhere. But it was called because of milk. And I'm pretty sure that other people got stories just as bad. Okay. Dairy and inflammation and pain. What is inflammation? Inflammation is a natural process in the body that evolves the immune system response to an irritant. It's one way the body protects and heals itself. If you've ever had a cut or burn your tongue while drinking a hot cup of coffee, the process of healing these wounds was your body's inflammation response in action. Cuts and burns are examples of acute inflammation, which is a relatively short-lived response to an injury. Cut your finger, the inflammation, but it's part of the healing process. If you cut your finger, it's best to put something on it and put a Band-Aid on it and sleep with that, because when your body is sleeping, is going through the healing process. And that's acute inflammation. And if you burn your tongue, it doesn't last forever. Acute inflammation, which is a relatively short-lived response to the injury, the irritation, or infection. Acute inflammation can be brought on by infection, such as bacteria or viruses, and non-infectious factors like injuries or chemicals, or psychological factors like stress and excitement. But in contrast, chronic inflammation, is a long-term psychological um, where excuse me, a long-term psychological response that can last anywhere from weeks to years. So a lot of us have diabetes, a lot of us have other chronic conditions, and you got long-term inflammation in your body, not chronic, not acute. You got chronic inflammation. Okay. Got a few more slides. Any questions or anybody have any or statements anybody want to say? Are y'all just sitting back and saying, wow? Go ahead, V.
I want to know where the morphine come from. Now,
What
breast milk.
the what?
I'm going to go all the way back to that one.
Oh,
I
breast
did
milk.
not know that.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I found that out when I was doing breast research,
Mhm.
you know. But that is true.
We have
It's
morphine in our breast milk.
yeah. And you have a little bit of sugar too.
I can get with the sugar. I just can't get with the morphine.
Yeah. But it doesn't last long, and it's only designed to make that baby come back, or want to have that breast milk. Because
Mhm.
if the breast milk didn't taste good to the baby, it wouldn't. And the same thing for a calf. If the milk coming from a cow didn't taste good, then they wouldn't keep coming back, even though they need to, because that's nourishment and that's their food while they're going through the weaning process.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get with you later on that one. I need a little more information. But Mr. Compton, he's asking, Mr. Mark Compton is asking, would you comment on how and why plant-based milk products differ?
Real simple. They don't come from an animal. It's just that simple. They come from nuts. They come from the coconut. They come from soy. They come from rice. They come from hemp. They come from what the creator designed, not another animal. It's just that simple. Hopefully that answers your question. And
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry, Gary.
It's
Eric,
Garrett.
Yeah.
Are the statistics different for biracial people?
good question.
Good question, but I have an answer for you.
Okay.
I said 75 to 80% of black African Americans are lactose intolerant. That other 25 to 80% are biracial. The more white blood that you have in your body, the less likely you are lactose intolerant. So biracial, if your mother and father that close. I know I have white people in my family. My great grandfather, my grandfather was white. So but I am really, really bad with as far as lactose intolerant. But if you are, if you have a mixture, then you may be somewhere between 50, you're maybe a little higher than regular Caucasians because you're mixed or biracial, but not as high as, 3 or 4 generations of black.
I got
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking about I have some grandkids that's biracial, so
Oh yeah.
thinking about them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But those are the things that you want to make sure you can get them tested to see if what their lactose tolerance is.
All right.
But I
Okay.
wouldn't, yeah. But to me, being lactose intolerant is just a defensive system for people of color. You don't want to drink milk, period. I don't care who you are, because there's other problems. As I said, it can lead to breast cancer. It can lead to prostate cancer. So it's just not the fat, the sodium. It's the foreign substance in your body that's cancerous, is because there's also scientific information that says ovarian cancer can come from milk. So men, if you don't want to, the two things that you really want to stay away from is, if you don't are concerned about prostate cancer, is eating a lot of meat and eliminate the dairy. Okay, good Q&A sessions. I love it when we talk and you have good questions. Okay, this is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. We urgently request, this is in a letter that they wrote to the United States Department of Agriculture. We urgently request that you ensure that the 2020 and 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans indicate that dairy products are warned of their particular health toll on people of color. Excuse me. So this is a deck that they sent to the United States Department of Agriculture and HHS, Health and Human Services. All right. Doctors, nurses, and dietitians, this is what I'm reading from this, have joined the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, a nonprofit organization with more than 12,000 doctors as members, and co-sign a letter that calls on the United States Department of Agriculture and the Department of Health Services to ensure that the 2020-2025 dietary guidelines for Americans indicate that dairy products are unnecessary and warn of their particular health toll on people of color. I guess they don't care. You black people can get sick. We don't care. The more of you die, the less likely you're going to take over. We get rid of some of you.
What was the response from the government when this was sent?
Pardon me?
I said, what was the response?
They didn't change it. They didn't change a thing.
Did they at least respond?
Yeah, I think they responded to them. I don't have the response as far as what it was. I can get it because I can call over there and ask them to send me the letter, and I'll get that information for you and let you know.
Okay.
Okay. This is the group, Ditch the Dairy. You don't see many people of color in here. These are mostly white doctors. You see a few. There are a few. There's a few people of color, but mostly white doctors. 12,000 of them, but belong to this organization, the Physicians Committee, and they're saying, ditch the dairy. So you say, so there are a lot of times I say doctors don't know, but they do know. A whole lot of them know. But what would you think that if every doctor in the United States that treated an African American said, ditch the dairy? You think cows would probably end up being slaughtered because we're not drinking their milk. People would lose their jobs. People would lose their farms. But all that is more important than a black life. Okay. Ditch the disease-causing dairy. That's what the Physicians Committee, a nonprofit with 12,000 members, say in a response to the government plan to spend $50 million bailing out the dairy industry. That's one response, but that's not what I know that's not what you're asking me, Ramona, but this is why they wrote the letter. It's not they didn't respond to it, but they wrote the letter because the government was going to spend $50 million to bail out the dairy industry. The United States Department of Agriculture funneled 13 million gallons of milk into federal food programs, such as the National School Lunch Program. We're going to make our kids sick in the school that they go to, the public school they go to, because you're going to make them drink that milk. You're going to tell them this is the best thing, this sliced bread. It is healthy for you. It gives you protein. It gives you calcium. And you just
Gives your
heard,
body, does your body.
does a body good. Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. But you heard the doctor tell you, it's not because of osteoporosis, but not for bone health. In fact, it does just the opposite. But white women are the #1 people cause for osteoporosis. And like he said, black women don't get osteoporosis. You can't tell me that you know somebody that's black female that has osteoporosis. You normally see white women humped over, bent, can't hardly walk, bones deteriorating. The school program is the one that I mean, all of it bothers me, but the school program is, I I have some grandchildren that have one more year in high school, and but they're all of them are now just about out. But I know a lot of you have grandchildren or children in school. Think about it.
Tyrone, at my grandchildren's school, the children don't be drinking the milk as much. They have it at the end of lunchtime. They be having it to give away to them, but a lot of children don't
Exactly.
take it.
Yeah. Oh, I have taught, and thank you for your comment. I have taught at down in Prince George's County Department of Aging, and the class that I was taught wasn't the one that most of you were in. This was a Stanford University class on chronic diseases. But they did, because the class was doing lunchtime, they supplied them with lunch. And the first day of the class, they gave them lunch with milk. And I said, "Oh, no, you can't." So I told them take that milk back, and they got water. That's just a small thing, because the next time they do it, they'll give them milk. Now this was at Bowie Senior Center, which meant 80 to 90% of the participants were older Black females and Black males that come and do it, and they're drinking dairy milk. They're giving them stuff that's going to make them sicker. I hope I'm not depressing anybody, because I just want you to have this information, because there's stuff we can do about it.
No, but Mr. Qualls, no, you're not depressing anyone, but you are totally confusing someone, and that is Mr. Mark Compton again.
Okay.
There is no such thing, Mr. Compton, as plant-based dairy products, huh? Is that what
I can't see it, but if he's asking about the plant-based milks are what we just talked about. A plant, a nut, a coconut, an almond, plant-based.
But it's not dairy.
Rice. It's not. It's non-dairy. That's
Right.
considered non-dairy, not dairy. And if you have diabetes, anybody has diabetes, that's the first place that you want to stop.
So he
Not
says he
and
enjoys
that's
chocolate.
and I'm sorry. Go ahead,
He
B.
says he enjoys chocolate, milk, plant-based.
He enjoys chocolate milk.
Plant-based.
The whole sentence is, I enjoy chocolate milk, plant-based.
I'm not sure about because that is it almond milk? But
They have chocolate. They have chocolate flavored like protein shakes that are plant-based and they're chocolate flavored. So that's
Okay,
probably
Mark?
what he means.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably what he means.
I've heard because that's why.
Because it
what I
looks
just-
like milk when I drink my plant-based protein shake. You can get it in vanilla, you can get it in chocolate,
Okay.
but it's plant-based
It's plant-based.
protein.
So
And it
no,
looks
Mark,
like
you
milk.
don't have to
It
give it
looks
up.
like
Just make
milk.
sure that
As
it's
long
not
as long as it doesn't come from a cow, you're
Right.
probably okay.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah, because you can read it and it'll say,
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. This is another one. We touched on this one a little bit in the previous lecture on ditch the dairy on prostate cancer. Ditch dairy to protect your prostate. Now this is actually a replica of a sign that they put on the side of the bus in DC. And let me kind of read this. This is a bus advertisement by the nonprofit Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, excuse me, in Washington, D.C., which has the highest prostate cancer mortality rate in the country.
Wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
Let me say that again. Which has the highest prostate cancer mortality rate in the country, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. Research shows that milk, cheese, and other products can increase the risk of prostate cancer, and people are dying from it.
Could that be in correlation with the fact that our government agencies are located in DC?
Yeah. Right. And you gotta, but they are still promoting, and that's what they kind of, as I was saying to Ramona, they didn't change anything. I don't know the exact wording of how they responded to it, but they didn't change anything because it's too much money.
Mm.
If a huge industry, and if you follow any kind of politics and in business, there's a saying, too big to fail. They can't let the dairy industry fail. That's what their perception is. They can't let all these pizza restaurants fail. They can't let all these fast food places that sell cheeseburgers and stuff like that fail because it's all about money. Because they make huge profits off of it.
Brother Clark, I have a question.
Absolutely, Bernard.
So how is it that the dairy product in correlation with red meat, steaks, and so forth? I can understand the red meat causing you to have the prostate cancer for what they put in to these animals that they boosting them up to make them a certain size. It's all chemical, and
Right.
it will come back in you. And I understand about the dairy process too, but I'm a bit confused about how the dairy is causing prostate problem. I understand that there's a mucus concern with dairy, yes.
Yeah.
But I do know that with the red meat, yes, there's a higher percentage of people having the prostate cancer with that because of, again, the various chemicals that we're ingesting. And it's not just the beef and it's also chicken. But go ahead.
Right now, first of all, where does red meat come from? The same animal that produces milk.
Right.
And it's usually the fat.
Mm-hmm.
The commonality there is the fat, the saturated fat that's causing the problem. It's saturated fat in meat because it's marbleized and it's high fat. It's fat. Milk has tremendous amount of fat. A block of a slice of cheese or however you do it, 70%. Some people say it's somewhere between 60 to 70% of cheese is saturated fat. Plus, it's loaded with sodium. And we have already talked about the opioid problem. So that's the commonality. That's how you make the connection. What you were saying is it's the fat that's causing the problem for prostate cancer, breast cancer. And I could say it a different way. It says it's a foreign substance that's coming into your body.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you quite welcome. Thank you for the question. Let's see. I think I did that. Yeah. So I found this one too, but Smart Parents Guide to Why Kids Should Not Have Dairy Products. And this one is talking about changing the kids to a vegan. I don't necessarily advocate for them to be vegan, but I wanted to show you that there are books out there, and I had never seen this one before, but it's mostly for white people. It's designed for white people to get them to stop, but they don't have the problem that we have. But it's lessons for little ones in eating plant-based eating, and that's not, and that's plant-based eating is a little different than vegan. So the importance of what I'm trying to say is look out for your kids, look out for your grandchildren. Try to get them off of that chocolate milk, because kids love chocolate milk from the store, or if you buy dairy. Okay. Now, Ramona asked me a question about what have they done. Now, I know Ramona took my class, and quite a few of you did take my National Diabetes Prevention class for quite a few times. But this is in the new version. This is the 2021 edition of the National Diabetes Prevention class. And you see, this used to be milk.
Yeah.
But now they changed it. They took it off, say water or low calorie. But carbs, protein, this is what they call the plate method of how you should eat. Ramona, you had a question?
No, I was just looking at that there was no more milk in there, because it used to be milk.
Exactly.
Now it's the water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that they've done away with it, and the new version and I don't think the last class that you were in with mine was the 2016 version of the class, but the 2021 edition talks about whole food more so, and talks about processed food. They're leaning a little bit more toward a plant-based in order for diabetics and pre-diabetes. But as I said before, and I want to say it again, when I started off this lesson, if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, the first place that you probably want to look at is dairy and meat. Cutting back on all of those things. Plant-based, and just like the doctor said, if you eliminate dairy, this is not one of those things you want to drink in moderation. Some people say, well, it's okay if I drink it in moderation. No, it's not. Because all it does is prolong your illness. It's still going to kill you, but it's maybe if you eat a whole lot of it, maybe your lifespan will be this short, versus if you did it in moderation, this short, but that's still shorter than if you didn't eat it at all. Am I making sense? So a lot of people have asked me about, so, well, it's okay to do stuff in moderation for some things, but this is not one. You want to try to eliminate dairy completely if you're Black, African American, from your diet. You will feel better. You will live longer. Strong possibility you may even get off medication. I have been successful with a lot of my patients. A lot of people in class have come back to me and told me, I stopped drinking dairies after I took your class. I feel better. My numbers have come down. My LDL is looking good. My HDL is looking good. My cholesterol is looking good. My high blood pressure is looking good. And now I don't have it. I implore all of you, if you have a chronic condition and you're on medication, and some of you may not be there yet, maybe you're young enough but your lifestyle says, I'm going to still eat I still got to have some meat. Every once in a while, I got to have some steak. All it takes is a small piece of that steak to get trapped in your colon, and you got strong possibility you're going to have colon cancer. So moderation in some things. If you want to have a snack that's not really detrimental to something that you don't have a habit for, that you want to eat every once in a while, that's okay. But things like dairy is that's why I said, I want to devote a whole lecture to this because it's just too important. And I need to lay this foundation for everybody. Let me talk. All right, now I want to talk about what he said. Dr. Milton Mills said. He said, what's the number one thing that people talk about when they talk about dairy? Oh, you need calcium. These are 10 dairy-free sources of calcium. They have more calcium than milk. Almonds, broccoli, black-eyed peas, blackstrap molasses, figs, kale, oatmeal. I would say fresh squeezed, and this is indicating fresh squeezed orange juice, salmon, and sesame seeds. Now, this sesame seed, the kale, the broccoli, I put in our smoothies just about every day that my wife and I have a smoothie. We have kale every day. We have sesame seeds every day. We eat salmon. That's why I'm not a vegan. We do have, and we use almond milk. If our grandchildren come over because some of them have peanut allergies, then I'll switch to oat milk.
Hello.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes. Go ahead, Marilyn.
What do you say about beet powder? Beet roots powder?
Yeah. It's okay, but to me, I just buy beets and put it in my smoothie. If the beets are about this small, I put the whole beet in there. If they're real large beets, I'll cut them in half and put half the beet in my smoothie. But beet powder is not I haven't really looked at it, I'll tell you, but what I would ask you to do is, what else is in that beet powder besides beets, pure beets? If it's a whole lot of, if you got a long list of ingredients, I'd stay away from it. Do the beets. You can blend beets. I've been blending them up in my smoothie for years, and they're not
The long list and the powder,
yeah,
then
and
it's no good.
yeah.
Mhm.
If it's a long list of other stuff in there, I would be cautious about it. If you buy the beets in the grocery store and they have a stalk on it, I cut the green leafy stalk. Put that in your smoothie. A lot of nutrition. So I wanted to show you that there are alternatives because people was like he said, people saying you try to get calcium from. There are other things that and most of you eat some of these things, so you don't need a protein that comes from an animal. This is plant protein that we're looking at, and most of you probably eat a good helping of it. But black-eyed peas, we black people love black-eyed peas. Just don't put any ham hocks in it. Okay. All right. All right. Plant protein. Another. This is plant protein. I just wanted to show you they have this is quinoa, broccoli, tofu, chickpeas. I think this is squash here. You have cucumbers and you have red cabbage. So they're and on the side you have some nuts over here. So you can replace a lot of it, but learn to use spices, Mrs. Dash, or some other, and do a blend of spices that you would change it to your taste buds. Because most of us just sometimes add salt and pepper, but start using, you can buy spice racks. They got oregano, got parsley, basil, all these different spices. Learn to use them. Learn to cook with them. Make your food taste good and be healthy. Okay. This is a new book, Vegecation and Over Medication. This is, in fact, my wife turned me on to this one. Dr. Bobby Price. He's a Black pharmacist. And he talks about how if he had it, I mean, he's still a pharmacist, but he's on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and listen to some of his lectures. But he talks about eating plant-based food. You see all this heart healthy. Okay, let's see another one. You've seen these two before. And this is the cheese trap. I showed you earlier. Another food as medicine. But tomorrow, hopefully I will get my book by in a couple of days. And I told you about a book that's coming out. It's called The Lies, Lies, that I taught in medical school. Now this is a white doctor. He's a professor at a medical school at USC and UCLA. He talks about how he got hit with a lot of diseases. He had pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Now this is a doctor. And his friends, other doctors, his doctor wanted to give him a ton of medication to control those chronic conditions. He decided to do the research. He looked it up, and he went to plant-based. He used, let me go back to the book. He used vegetation over medicine. And now he wrote this book because he'd been teaching pharmaceuticals in medical school. Now he's saying, I haven't read the book, but I've read excerpts from it, and I've listened to some of his interviews on YouTube. Because his book comes out, it's on Amazon, but it's not available until tomorrow, which is the 4th of June. But believe me, I'm going to get the book, and once I get it, I'll let y'all know some of the lies that he's been telling in medical school. But you can see there are two different sides. You've got 12,000 doctors that are associated with Physicians for Responsible Medicine, but then you got the other doctors that work at Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, St. Agnes Hospital, all these other hospitals that want to fill you up with medication. And I'm not saying we don't need doctors, because we do need them, because eating a plant-based diet, if you get hit by a bus and they have to put you back together, how that would help if the healing process of your broken bones, your torn flesh is shorter and better if you giving your body what it needs to heal itself. And McDonald's, Kentucky Fried, cheese, dairy is not what you want to be eating. If you're in the hospital, refuse to drink the sodas that they give you, refuse to drink the milk that they give you. I want a healthy meal. If you go into the hospital, you plan, if you're going to be there for a while, because you're going to plan on, well, I got to wear this, I'm going to have some clothes or something like that, take a few things with me, maybe some books or something. But plan your own meal that you want. And tell them, this is what I want to eat. It'll help heal you a lot faster. Your body heals itself, but it heals you a lot faster. All right. Here's all the information. I was trying to get this up on YouTube, but you see, I'm getting feedback when every time I do a video. So my next lesson, and the next one is the next one is going to be on kidneys. And I'm not going to have a video, but we're going to try to put that up on YouTube. With that, hopefully, won't be any problems. But this is all a message. Again, a lot of you have been contributing, and I appreciate you. I love you. I thank you for whatever you send. If you send me a piece of bubble gum, I will appreciate it. But thank you so much for all that you have done, and I appreciate it. And hopefully some of you will continue to do this, because I want to continue to do this. I mean, as you can see, I've got into this mode of doing this research. Oh, before you go, all right, let me stop this. I think everybody has all this information right as of now. Is anybody that needs me to leave it up for a few minutes? Okay. Let me stop this. I do have an announcement. I have joined another organization, and a lot of you saw the flyer that I sent out. And this is a group of medical doctors, of PhD doctors that are trying to do something in the community. And I have to highlight and give kudos to Mark Chapman, Mr. Mark Campton, he came to the session and he met two of the very significant doctors. One is a Dr. Cheatham. He's an endocrinologist, which is he talks about diabetes. He's a diabetes doctor. And the other one's Dr. Theodore Watkins, a well-known doctor in DC. Both of them are out of DC, but they come into Baltimore and doing stuff on the West Side. And I will continue to send you information about their lecture because Dr. Theodore Watkins is great. The lesson on Saturday, he was talking about your mind, how you think, and thinking positive. Because all of this starts with you changing your mindset. If you have an addiction, you got to overcome that. A lot of these things you have to try to get out of your system and change your mindset on how you think about food in relationship to you having a long life, you feeling better, not being on medication. So they are having these lectures, and they have to do a lot more. And as Mark can attest to, we weigh people in, we take their, do their height, we do their blood pressure, we prick their fingers to see what their glucose level is, and we do the A1C number, get the A1C number. And I'm part of the cycle. That happens the first Saturday of every month.
Why the first Saturday?
Pardon me?
Why the first Saturday? That's the most busiest Saturday of the month.
I just Ramona, I wish I had an answer for you, but I just don't know. That
I saw the advertisement. I couldn't go this Saturday past because we had our Harriet Tubman tour.
Right.
That first Saturday is a killer.
Well, it's going to be the they're going to have 12 sessions, okay. and they've only had 2. I came in because I met Dr. Cheatham at a Seventh-day Adventist church that I was doing working at a health fair, and he was doing a diabetes class, and he and I talked about, and they have welcomed me in. I may end up doing some lectures, but I'm not sure yet. They have welcomed me in, and Dr. Watkins, and I'll share this with you. He has a radio program. He's going to call me sometime in the next week or two. That he's going to schedule me for the radio program. If I get that information, right now I don't know a whole lot about when it is, but I will find once it does that because he wants to interview me.
Get down.
But I will let everybody know when that is happening. But this is just another set of eyes. These are doctors. They're medical doctors, but they promote plant-based. No, and Mark can attribute to that. They because they had asked for people to do fast. And they had a little snack for them, but they had a healthy snack. So, but I will let you know more about it as we go along. And also, I'm still working with Baltimore City Health Department on the initiative that they're doing. I'll have more information about this probably within the next few weeks. Okay. And we're gonna do some more. If that's when we do when they bring me on board, because I'm waiting for them to sign my develop my consulting contract. Once they do that, then I'll let you know, and we're gonna start some more classes. But we're gonna have the updated version, and because one of the things that, and let me just say this too. The course that I teach, that a lot of you have attended, the National Diabetes Prevention class, and all of you know that I adapted the course for African Americans because that course was designed for white people.
Yeah,
that's because if you saw the lessons, it said low-fat milk. It was okay to drink milk, And that's the part of it that is racist. They didn't.
Yes.
When I asked the people down at CDC that developed the program, I asked them how many Black people were in the research that they did to develop this course. Guess what the answer was? What I just did. The answer was just what I did, silence.
Say hi.
They couldn't answer me.
Say hi.
But
Say hi.
the director, the young lady that taught, made me a master trainer. Well, excuse, I'm gonna have to put you on mute. So the director, she said, I don't know how many Black people were involved, but I can tell you this, Tyrone. She said, but you can't tell everybody, but I'm telling everybody. She said, this is a white bread course. They're her words, not mine. I don't use that term white bread, but that's what she said.
Well, you gotta thank her for her honesty.
Right. I did. I mean, she's a good friend. I respect her for it. But she already knows that I adapt the course for Blacks. Because I've been telling y'all since day one, dairy is not your friend. And I talked to you about hog maws and chitlins and fatback.
Right.
How many white people gonna talk to you like that? So I have adapted the course for Black people, and I will continue to do that until they slap me on my wrist, or cut my fingers off, or cut my tongue out, whatever. As long as I can talk, it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
So the next session is going to be in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about kidney health, how not to die from kidney health. But I want to make sure that people are starting to get something out of this and starting to eat better. Some of you have asked for my smoothie recipe. If you don't have it, if I have not given it to you and you want it, just text me or email me, and you had all my numbers, because you got my email, and I will send it to you. That will guarantee you weight loss, more energy. You will see the change in your body. It will help, and this is good, it will help stop that aging process or slow it down, because you're not getting older, you're getting more mature, but it will slow the aging process down. Let me tell you real quick, for those that don't know, what do I put in my smoothie that I have had every day for the last 25 years, and my wife has had it every day since she has met me. So, kale, broccoli, collard greens, spinach, purple carrots, arugula, all 4 kinds of berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, chia seeds, you saw in that, flaxseed, sesame seeds, banana, all different kinds of fruit. Sometimes I slice apples up and put it in there, and I leave the skin on it. Mangoes, pineapples, peaches. Put all of that in. That ensures that my wife and I get the full range of vitamins that we need to function every day. And it keeps my energy level up.
Tyrone, I got a question. When I
Sure.
tried to do that, you remember in your class, you told us about the amount of fat we should intake per day?
Right.
Well, when you put all them seeds in there, it elevates, because it's like 10 grams of fat for the chia and the flax seeds and the.
Well,
so I
yeah.
was having trouble balancing that when I put all those seeds in there.
Well, if I didn't explain it, I apologize. But the answer to your question is, it's a different kind of fat. Chia seeds nut seeds, fat. That's good fat.
Okay.
You don't have to. You should not have to. Don't worry about that kind of fat. If you eat a ton of it, because I mean, just you're only going to put maybe a
A
tablespoon,
tablespoon, right.
yeah, right, of those seeds in there. I would not worry about that.
Don't count that, because if you
Don't,
do, after
yeah,
2 tablespoons, you're at 20
right.
grams. Okay.
Yeah, Miss Wright, just don't worry about adding that to your fat gram budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Tyrone, why are they now talking about not eating bananas?
If you're diabetic, bananas are high in sugar. Is that your question?
I just noticed a lot of articles are coming about. I have cut out because I used to have a half a banana every day and also put it in my smoothie.
I wouldn't right now. I wouldn't change that, Doris. And so if you and everything that I've learned from, you see, when I was with American Diabetes Association, that if you got a big banana and you're diabetic, you want to just maybe eat half of it at one time, because that's too much. It's too sweet. Same thing for grapes. You want to eat,
know about grapes.
but you know about grapes. Yeah, you want to just do a handful of grapes.
And is the green banana better than the very ripe?
Say that again.
The green banana that's green, rather than the ripe.
Oh, are you talking about a plantain or
no?
plantain?
I'm just talking about
green
banana.
Bananas. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, they're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So the amount of grapes that are going back to what I was just finished saying, the amount of grapes that a diabetic should have is no more than, in one setting, no more than 8 to 12.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to eat the whole bunch, because it's natural sugar coming from a fruit, and your body treats it a different way. I can give you a little bit more scientific stuff, but it won't make a whole lot of sense to you. But bottom line is, sugar coming from a fruit is different than sugar coming from a soda, coming from tea, coming from anything that has added sugar.
Well,
your body treats it different, because that's a natural sweetness and a natural sugar, and the creator, he or she, knew what to do, because that's what they wanted you to do. Yeah, they wanted, he or she wanted you to be able to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. So fresh fruit is what about what?
Cherries.
Cherries. No, cherries are fine. I put cherries in. Like I said, I put. In fact, my wife loves cherries. She likes to buy them, and we eat cherries. That's okay. But see, man, good. Yeah, thank you, Ramon. That's a thing that you want to do in moderation. If you want to do something in moderation, then you say, okay, if I'm diabetic or pre-diabetic and I want to eat some fruit, if you're diabetic, you want to know what that fruit does to your blood sugar. So prick your finger before you eat it, enjoy the fruit, and see if it sends your blood sugar up. If it sends it up a little bit, then maybe you want to cut back on how much fruit you have. But I would not eliminate fruit from my diet just because it is, it's sweet. I would do moderation in that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Mr. Qualls, I am talking about you in the chat. I tell Eric, I'm not diabetic, y'all, and he treats me as if I am, but I'll get a big old thing of grapes and I'm trying to take them to work with me. If he fixes them, it's like 6 to 8 grapes. And I'm looking at him like, he wins though. But I'm like, in the world, like, I want to do this. I can have more than 6 to 8 grapes.
She's not diabetic, but she won't be either. If I have anything to do with it.
Like, gosh,
her mother was diabetic. and we know that
Everybody was. Everybody in my
yeah,
family.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm not. She's gonna have to get rid of me in order for me to not keep her from. If she wants to get diabetes, she's gonna have to get rid of me. But I'll be flat out like, no, you're not. So the idea of how much food you should eat that. Now that could be moderation. You want to try to eat at least 6 times a day. Somewhere between 4 to 6 times a day. 4 breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the other 3 are in between breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, dinner, and a snack. And a snack can be a piece of fruit that we just finished talking about. It could be some almonds. It can be some broccoli. It can be some hummus. It can be anything that's healthy, not potato chips, not cookies, not dairy, and with cookies, milk and cookies. No, unless it's non-dairy milk. So all of those things you want to start with. So if anybody has any, and I'm not going to mention tell who, but there are a few people on I know now that I'm going to talk to hopefully in the next day or two about meal planning, because that's where it starts.
Yes.
Because type 2 diabetes is because of lifestyle, what you put in your mouth. It's not hereditary. Say that again. It is not hereditary. And even if it was, some things are hereditary. That's not one of them. But even the things that are hereditary, you can override that hereditary gene by your lifestyle, by what you decide to put in your mouth, because your body is craving nutrition on a regular basis. And what we eat has a direct relationship to how we feel. So if I can help, I will. Give me a call. The old saying, call Tyrone.
I'm gonna call Tyrone because I want to talk. I want you to get back to talking about this racism and Trump.
Over time. I know.
We way over time, but I want to get with you, man.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
believe me, I got a ton of material ready for racism, boy. Woo. I had 25 sessions planned, and we only finished, I think, about 12. So we got more. I got more, but I've added a whole lot more to it.
Okay.
There's a new book. I bought. In fact, let me show you. This book here.
I didn't mean to start nothing because I know we passed time, but I just want to tell you.
No, that's all right. I'm okay.
Yeah, all you retirees out there, I have to go to work tomorrow, so forgive me.
Yeah. We're gonna stop. This book right here is called Legacy. This is a Black female doctor, and she and her twin sister went to Harvard University. But this book is talking about the racism she encountered at Harvard and in her profession. So, and I got so much more material for talking about white supremacy and racism. Don't worry. I know, Miss Wright. Don't worry. I'm going to get back to it. I got years of stuff to go.
Yeah, this is my place. This is my safe place to vent.
I'm probably going to try to get back to the racism. After, I'm thinking about after the Supreme Court rules on Trump's immunity. And
when is that? When are they ruling on that?
Well, they're supposed to hear arguments this month.
Okay.
But they may not rule on it until sometime in July, which is going to be too late if they don't rule on it beforehand, the trial that's supposed to be happening in D.C. with the black judge, probably,
Chunkin.
yeah, Chunky, yeah, probably won't start before the election, because Department of Justice has and I still think that that's a stupid rule, but they have it's not a law, it's just a policy that they don't try not to interfere in an election 90 days
Oh
before the
no.
election. So November, October, September, almost back to August. So if they rule in October, I mean in July, and give and it's more than likely it's going to be a modified kind of immunity, where if he says we declare war and they kill people over there, he can't go to jail for that. But crimes that he can go for, but
Doesn't he get sentenced on the 11th?
Yeah, there's a whole thing about the Supreme Court right now. Their credibility is suspect.
Yeah, flying
It's
the
been
flag.
suspect for years.
Yes, and with the 3 new judges, the only way that's going to change in the next few years is that they change the House, majority in the House, majority in the Senate, and we got a Democratic president. There is a possibility that they can add more Supreme Court judges, but that will really take that they
Not
will be.
with Biden. He's not going to add anybody.
I know, yeah. Well,
Doesn't
Kamala,
Trump get sentenced? Doesn't he get sentenced in July the 11th?
pardon me.
He goes for sentencing on the 11th.
On July the 11th.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of people trying to figure out whether or not he is going to get any jail time. I don't think he's going to get jail time. He may get home detention or probation. They got to give him something, because all the other people that have been around him that have done his bidding, and he's the godfather, he's the mafia don, he's the king, have done his bidding, have gotten time. Main one is Michael Cohen. Yeah. So they got to give him some time, but that's a tricky situation. How do you, because if you put him on probation, he can't leave the state of New York. He can't go down.
Right, and he's going to say, I can't do my election and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, he shouldn't even be allowed to run.
Yes, I agree. I agree
Yeah.
100% with you with that.
Yeah.
How did they?
10 times over.
A collective. He's a convicted felon.
Yes.
You're a convicted
3
felon.
times over.
You are a convicted felon, and you mean to tell me you still want to run for president, and you got people who believe in you? You've lied. You've done everything known to man, and he was hurt because he didn't realize he was going to get hit with all 34.
Exactly.
Not see that coming.
The fact that he's been impeached twice should take precedence too.
All of that, but we have.
What's wrong with these people, though? These people worship him. They think he's God for real.
Because we have just as it's been said before, we have a group of people out here who want to vote for him, who have no recollection or idea of how government works. They're the ones who are supporting him, and racist. Those are the main 2 who are supporting him. They don't like the browning of America. They don't like it, and they think that he's going to stop it. And it's not.
And it's not even the people that support him. It's the money people that are behind him that are driving this.
Yeah.
Because they don't want their bottom line taken away.
Them. That's what I don't understand. Do they realize he is a psychotic, crazy man?
Well,
he will turn on them.
No,
like Nikki, what's her name?
But that shows you how sick white supremacy is. They want to remain in power, and like Roland Martin said in his book called Fear, the browning of America is making white people lose their mind.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Racism is a disease. They are losing their mind.
That's right.
And they don't care all this other stuff. our conversation is about what is right and wrong. You can throw that. Excuse my language. You can throw that shit out the door because they don't count. They don't. Right and wrong don't count. When they want to stay in power, they are scared to death.
See, and then the other piece to that, other piece to that is the fact that these folk have gotten to. Well, let me rephrase that. We have to understand one thing, and the president really needs to take this seriously. It says in the oath, you must defend the Constitution, foreign and domestic. We are about to deal with a domestic situation here because these people are already saying they don't want any trouble if Trump doesn't get elected. He's already promised that if he doesn't get in, there will be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
and he's serious about it.
Right.
And he made that point in January 6th when these people went down there and did what they did. And now folk are packing up arms. So that's what I'm saying. They need to prepare for this man because they know that he's liable to do anything. Got all these people following.
Pay attention for the 4th of July.
He's not going to win, so we must be prepared.
Exactly.
For the bloodbath.
Yeah, exactly. I think if and I agree with Ramona. I hope and I agree. I think he's going to lose, but it doesn't matter if he loses. We up Schitt's Creek because the people are going to start because this election for him is the last of the Great White Hope philosophy because he will be too old to try, because if he loses, theoretically he can still run again, but he'll be in his 80s. And my prediction is the way that he eats, he ain't gonna be around. He ain't gonna be around too long. No.
And you can tell he's eating terribly because he doesn't even think well.
No,
his thinking is just off the chain. He can't even come clean with what he's saying.
He loves McDonald's
and pizza.
That's and Coke and Coke. Pizza. Yeah,
I'm going to say
for as rich as he is. He eats like he's on welfare.
Yeah.
He's like
he got his waist is probably about a 46, 48.
58.
It's 58.
He'll swear you down. He's the healthiest person of all.
Oh,
that's what he does. He likes to lie. And if you believe his lies, he will continue to tell them to you. He's been lying this whole time and being caught in his lies.
He's a professional liar.
Yes.
All right. I'm glad we had, as always, we always have good conversation. This is always a good time. And, but we will get back to my white supremacy and racism and how it's affecting all of us. Believe me, I got tons of new material.
Well, I have been enlightened by this dairy situation. Looking at it in a new light.
Deborah, I'm glad you were. I think a lot of people are enlightened by the dairy because it is, because I knew some of the people hadn't been in my class, and but I've been talking about it for years that Black people do not need dairy. So I said the last time I talked about it, I didn't have some of the pictures they would have, but
you made your point this time for real. Wait, dairy is like Trump. Leave it alone.
Well, now I have the data to back it now.
Just remember that. Remember we're talking about crack now.
Yeah. A crackhead.
All right, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week and enjoy. And
you as well.
And we will be back. I think the Monday before Juneteenth.
See y'all next time.
The 16th.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, we'll be back on the 17th, the Monday before Juneteenth. So
okay.
See y'all then. Take care.
Okay. Thank
all
you.
Right.
Love all of you.
Good
Good night.
You
Good
as
night.
well.
Good night.
Bye-bye.